My name is Mautin, so I just I'm a fashion designer.
Obviously.
Obviously, like she just said. Yeah, and a little backstory to why I chose that path or ended up on that path. I studied economics in Madonna University, by the way. Graduated with 2-1. And I like saying that. I like saying that because people just sometimes people just talk to you as if because it's not pass. Yeah. I did my grades well and all. Yeah. But when we graduated, there was this recession in the country then, and they were not employing new hands. So a lot of companies were just downsizing. So they were not bringing in new people. So at that point, the question that just came to mind is, what is that thing you've always loved to do? Right? And for me, fashion came first. Why? Growing up, I didn't have a lot of clothes because of some dynamics around my growing up. And I remember asking somebody that was in charge of me growing up how I wanted them to get me some clothes. And the person went by, has your father not told you I'm not your mother? And I can never forget that statement. And I that attached clothing to my, it just stuck somewhere that I needed to always have clothes. Okay, how would I always have clothes? Let me learn how to make. So when that point came, like, what was that thing you've always wanted to do? This was it. Even after secondary school, I told my dad, let me go and learn how. I just want, and he was like, what's the meaning of that? Look, go to school and all. Yeah, so that was how, after fashion school, some years after, here we are.
That's amazing. A lot of people stumble into things, but it's actually beautiful to see that it's something you've always wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Yes, there might be a reason
Yeah.
from the childhood, but you can desire something as a child. I wanted to be a doctor at some
I
point,
wanted to be a pilot.
but here we are. So it's so beautiful to see that you were able to follow through with what you wanted to do, and you are doing absolutely great with it. Like, I'm proud to be a client. So now, just like I've shared with a couple of people that have actually got on the channel, trauma is something that people trivialize. Mental health is something that people don't really get to talk about. They just feel it's like headache. If it's not cancer, if it's not something that serious, they really
Life
don't want to.
threatening,
Yes, life threatening. They don't want to talk about it.
physically life threatening,
Yes,
so to say,
physical.
because it
Yes,
is life threatening.
and so people don't get to know that there are actually stories that you need to hear that probably are left untold. And that's actually why I am here. I've seen you push through difficult situations. Like, I remember the first time I heard your story, I was wow. And it was like, for 1 minute, you didn't look like it, but you were going through it. And I know that you had something that gave you like succor to help you. And I know it must be an emotional journey for you, trying to take you back there because it's more like making you relive those moments. But I would like to ask, how was it when you found out that you were going to be going on this journey alone? Like, I remember the day they called my parents. I was not there, but they described it to the person that just broke the news to them. Didn't even ask where would they were. Just told them your child had an accident and didn't even give them the feedback whether she was alive or not. So it was really devastating for them to even. But how was it when you got the news that your husband has gone?
So it's a funny one because so we we got called in the middle of the night to come see somebody. Okay, the way the call came in, they didn't call me directly, they called my sister in law that she needed to come, her brother. It was in the middle of the night. So she was like, please stop this joke. Around 12 1. What was my brother doing outside at this time? Right? So she ended the call. And then she was just like, on the second thought, let me call. Yeah, so she called the government and so she called me and I picked up and I was like, where is your husband? I'm like, oh, he's not back yet though. And she was like, what? When was the last time you spoke to him? And I was like, like 10:45 thereabouts. He said let me ish that he was coming, that he was on his way. She's like, I'll call you back. She ended the call. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, what's going on? but she's super protective of him and us, and that was a sensitive period in the country. We had just had the NSAS case, so everybody was on,
The
like everybody,
lookouts
yeah, look
for
out. So I felt it
everybody.
was just her regular check-ins. So she now called back and told me that, oh, some people called her and said that. I'm like, ah, it's not possible. How will they call you? Because her number will probably be down. Like, so around 4, like around, I couldn't sleep. Like around 3, like there was just this unease that came upon me. Like I'm like, let's go, let's go. And I went to beg my neighbor to drive me there. He has, I think he is in paramilitary or something. I think NIM, one of our neighbors, I went to beg him that they should please just drive me to any of the hospitals that they said around there. If we go to one or two, we'll be able to see him. Because I said person had accident and that one said person fell. The stories were not
Mm.
adding up. So we got to the hospital, we got there around 5. Yes, we drove around, look for it. We shall got there. When we got in, the moment I saw the car, I said, ah, oh, truly, this is his car. And when I saw the damage, I'm like, ah, but with this kind of damage, it shouldn't affect the person inside the car. So in my head, he's fine. Like,
Something small.
it's something small. It was just a body impact, and there's no way it should have affected the person driving. Like, no, there was no airbag, nothing. Everything is intact. It was just the back door. Now, I know nothing happened to him. So I went in and I kept asking, okay, how far? Nigerian hospitals. And this was, we've been calling you since you're just coming. And I said, okay, you've been calling me. Oh, what if we came? What were we going to do? Like, what were we going to do if we came? Are we the doctors? Like, if they bring in a patient, you're supposed to attend to them. Like, are we
Correct.
doctors? And the good Samaritan that was there, he was not like that. He has paid them, gave them money, and told them to go ahead. And from the look of this one, he definitely has family and all that. And they kept tossing me around, kept tossing. I'm like, what's going on with these people? At the point, one also that I should not mind me, that they're just trying to punish me. I'm like, punish me
For
for
what?
what? Like, I don't understand. So as we were waiting, my son-in-law came in and we were, no, I think before she came in, one of the cleaners now came to whisper into my ear that okay, by then I was getting agitated and I was beginning to flip. So one of the cleaners was not like, I should go, and when I enter into this place, you stylishly pointed, and when I enter that place, I should turn to my right, so there's a door. Behind the door, there's another door. I should check. Look that when I enter the ward, I will see. All this while I didn't even know. But I could just sense there was just this
Something.
odd looks, like I could just sense something was. So I entered the ward. I went to the left. I went to the right. I was opening the ward. I'm looking for somebody now. At least someone to look. And I'm still not seeing. When I went back, she was like, ah, hey, what that? I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. So apparently they are hiding. They had hid his body somewhere. They hid his body. Like. So I went back to him and that's when it dawned on me like, oh, is this what this woman is trying to tell me? Like, like she's trying to tell me that I should go and sleep, but not like she's telling me that I should go and sleep. Like, my first instinct was actually to use the cover cloth, like she just first covered it. It was dressed though, like, but I just felt like, oh, it was exposed or it was cold or something, because I didn't.
It
It
didn't add
still
up.
had not add up,
Yeah,
and
it
when
was
I
not
touched
registering.
him, it was pretty warm. So in my head, like, no, he's sleeping. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do to him? What can we do? Do they need oxygen? What exactly? Like, what are we? And they're like, he died like 4:30. Yeah. I don't understand. You guys claim when he came in for the everything. At that point, in fact, I can't even remember because at a point I didn't want to remember all of those things anymore, and I just like had some type of partial amnesia. Like, there are some things I can't remember again, and I know it's voluntary. It happened involuntarily, voluntary, so to say. That was
Yes,
one
you
of the
had
things
to
my
see.
therapist. So more like me trying to safeguard myself at a point. So it just, at that point, in fact, the gravity of everything did not dawn on me. The gravity did not dawn on me. In my head, okay, I can't even lie, it didn't dawn on me. I walked outside. I don't know if I was laughing first or I said, I don't know. At the point I said, they just let me take a walk. I just want to walk away. Like, let me walk to a very far distance and walk back. Then everything will now change. Like, it was a bad movie or a bad scene. Everywhere I'm walking to, people are following me. And I'm like, why are people following me? Let me just be walking. Let me be walking. I don't want to be walking. Like, I just want to be walking. Just be walking away. Let me sha. Let me walk away first. When I come back, people will tell me this is a big bad joke. And
And
yeah.
one minute you spoke to him, and the next minute it's
Like,
another.
it still doesn't. And since then I don't take life for granted. Because unfortunately, some things happen for us to see some things, right? It wasn't like one was careless about life.
No,
But there are some things that will happen, you realize that
a bit of
life is, see, is split of a second. Everything, it becomes worse. In fact, I think I still, when I'm talking about him, I still say he's like,
his
he's still,
present continuous.
because sometimes this is 5 years after. Sometimes that's not registered, except well when the demands of life come and when realities come. But
But
I
how
don't
was
know.
it? You know, now you're saying 5 years after, you have a child, and for every time Father's Day come, school registration, she sees things. How do you get to explain to her? Because it's one thing for you to deal with the trauma of losing a loved one. It's another thing for you to explain because she's dealing with a trauma that she doesn't even understand. She didn't bargain for
So the
such.
funny thing is, we are in that phase now.
Hmm.
She's 5 years old.
Hmm.
She's
We are in that phase
self-aware.
currently.
So when I took her to crèche, parents will come and pick their kids. Most of the time, it's the fathers. She will shout, everybody has daddy, daddy. So in her head, every man is daddy. So between, he died when she was a year and 1 month. So in her head, between that 1 and 6 months, 8 months that I took her to crèche, to 3, every man, once if you see a man coming,
Daddy.
daddy, everybody, daddy, because she didn't know that.
It
Oh,
wasn't a generic name for the male
yes,
figure.
because she saw women are mommy. That everybody did it. So in church, daddy, everybody, daddy. So when she says somebody, daddy, he enjoyed that. A lot of people, they didn't understand what was going on until recently, when some of the children started telling her, "It's not your daddy, it's my daddy," and then she be like, "No, it's daddy, Joe." Children are
Ah,
possessive, so they tell her outright, "No, it's not your daddy, it's my dad." Even her cousins will tell her, my brothers, they'll tell her, "It's not your daddy, it's our daddy," and then she'll be like, "No, it's daddy, Joe." She didn't even understand that, okay, there's a mind
mind.
that. So we are in that phase of explaining. I had to bring out the album and show her, okay, see your dad is with Jesus, is this, is that. And then she'll still come and say, will Jesus send him back? I'm able to laugh about it now because we see had this conversation yesterday. She went visiting to one of my friends and then she was like, "Oh, there's this particular person she's very fond of. That's her daddy." And then my friend told her, "No, that's not your daddy." And luckily that my friend too lost her dad when she was 2 years old. So she tries to walk her through the
The
thought
process.
process. So she told her that, "Tiara, you and I, we don't have daddies. Our daddies died when we were young." Tiara said, "Why did our daddies die? Why did Jesus take our daddy? So who is going to be our daddy now?" And then she now goes through the process of telling her, okay, God is our father, he will provide our needs. She's currently ill, as you can see happening around here. 2 nights ago, she told me, "Mommy, pray for me. Tell that, tell Jesus to tell my dad to pray for me." Like, it was in the middle of the night. Like, I didn't even know what she thought. She was sleep talking. I just laid my hands and I was praying for her, and then she was just saying, hey. She said, "Singing this kind God," and all that. And I'm grateful to God that I'm able to put her on that path, right? But also just makes me
Sorry, I'm
realize.
getting emotional. I don't know why, but So
I'm
you
trying to
get
be
it.
strong. Don't put me on that part.
Oh my god, I never knew that I would get it. Oh god.
Like I don't understand. It also makes me understand that ahead, she's thinking about it. So now that she knows, she has understood that her father is somewhere, she now does something. If I introduce somebody to her, like, this is somebody's dad, she calls them by that person's child,
Yeah.
like, always dad, Lano's dad, Mimi's dad. She has stopped
Imagine
personalizing
to
them,
do.
right? She has stopped that process, and now she goes occasionally. She still wants, like, she wants her daddy, like. So now I'm very protective of her around everybody. I don't want anybody making her feel some type of way about it. Like, this is who you are. This is where we have found ourselves by no particular choice of ours. We will need to navigate it. So I'm also trying to build myself in a way such that I do not deal with her in that regard. Like, I'm able to build her up as a wholesome child. I don't want to be father and mother to her. I want to be a mother to her with God the Father. When God say, okay, your father will come, fine, it will come. I'm not even saying it will not come. When God says it will happen, it will happen. But I don't want her to have that. I didn't grow up with my mom, so I know I have mommy issues. Do you understand? I know. So I don't want her to have
That
that
issue.
issues. I want her to understand that He is not here right now, but God is available for you part time. And honestly, anything she tells me she wants part time, like a need, God, I always said, "No, it's God that sorts this girl. It's not me.
Actually her
Anything
dad.
that has to do with her, it is God that sorts her. Even to the minutest thing. She told me something she wanted recently, one very funny thing. That when, like, I'm like, this tiny, why do you say you want this thing? And a client came from UK. Guess what she bought for her?
Like
That thing.
exactly.
So she's
God is very mindful of her. Like he's very intentional
so
about using her life.
I told him, you have chosen me as a vessel to nurture this one for you. Do your thing with her. So that's just how I have come.
It's amazing. So I heard you mention earlier when we were talking that your therapist told you.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy for the fact that you got the opportunity to see a therapist
Yes, I
because
did.
most people don't actually see the need for therapy. I
It's very
actually
important.
I didn't have the privilege of having a therapist when I was going through trauma.
Mm.
So I stayed long in trauma than expected. I actually spent 12 years dealing with trauma. I couldn't drive, I couldn't stand the sound of the horn and all
Oh,
those things.
so I was going to mention, for like, in fact, I sold my, one of the first things I did was I sold my car. I didn't want to see it. Then I didn't drive for like a year plus. The first time I tried to drive and I saw a trailer, because it was a truck that hit his car. I saw a truck. I said,
You're feeling
turning towards the
agitated.
cover. The
Yes.
moment I got home, I made the decision to sell the car and I sold that car. And like, I didn't want to drive for like almost 2 years. So therapy helped me with that.
So that was one of the things I was going to say that the fact that I didn't go through therapy, I stayed 12 years in trauma, and because of that, it's even still very difficult driving. For every time I want to drive, I create scenes of negative episodes in my head. So because of that, I try to stay because in my head, it's like if you drive, you kill yourself. So
Mm.
I had to start walking through the process of using the Word of God as my first therapeutic cue. So I had to start confessing the Word of God to get myself out of that space. And the fact that I had very supportive people, although they didn't understand what I was going through, even I myself, I didn't know what I was going through until very few recently. Before I got to understand that it was post-traumatic stress disorder. So I think I was doing a project in school then. I decided to focus all my attention on my final project on things that had to do with mental health facilities because I felt like I was dealing with a mental issue that I didn't understand. So when I started reading up on it, I realized I was dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, and I started trying to get help in every way I could. And one thing that I found solace in them was photography because
Mm.
I've become withdrawn. I stay isolating myself. I had so much scars. that I didn't want to interact with people. I felt like the first thing they were going to do was stare at my face and notice the scars and all those things. So I was very intentional about being withdrawn. I became an introvert, and so I didn't want to interact with people. It was just photography. I think photography that I used for the students was the same thing that brought me
Out.
back into the space of interacting with people. So how was it for you? Because for you, you had started fashion before.
Yeah.
And so when the incident happened, how did you cope?
Funny, one of my first decisions after was that I didn't want to do fashion again. Like, I said I didn't want to do it again. It was my in-law. I will not forget. Like that day, I was standing in the room with my sister-in-law, her husband, and one of their pastors, and I was just like, I don't want to. I want to close my business. I don't want to do fashion again. And they're like, ah, the person was even outside. Like, is it the husband that opened the bar? He said, no, she's been doing it before she met him. I said, why? It's because of this thing. Don't stop. I said, no, I don't want to. She tried to talk to me that no, this is the thing you used to feed you. This is like this is something you've been enjoying. What like I honestly did like you
Nothing was making sense.
because for me, I have experienced loss before, right? This was on another level. Like sometimes even till now, sometimes I don't understand it. When I try to understand it, even till now, sometimes I still call my therapist and I'm like, wait, you mean that that there's some things that you just can't undo? And fashion had been something I was doing then. I wanted to run away from it. My first instinct was run away. However, it brought me back out there. In fact, okay, so one of the things I got my friends pull me up. Let me talk about the therapy part. I did a grief and loss recovery community group, GLAC, in the TCN Ikeja. I joined the group and we were attached to a therapist. So it was a 6 week program, fantastic program. The therapist I worked with them was